Hello and welcome. This is a special broadcast. I'm Chaiti Narula. We're talking about psychology of kids in this lockdown. You're going to be hearing on this broadcast from a young mother, Symone Khambata, who's very vocal about looking after the mental health of your children. She's also very vocal about mental health at large. So we're going to be hearing from her on what her impediments really look like when it comes to her kids. And of course, top doctors on our show today, Dr. Varka Chalani and Dr. Sameer Parikh, going to be walking you and guiding you through how to look after the psychology of your kids through this entire lockdown. But first up, let's look at the lay of the land. Mental health issues are real, not just in adults but in kids too, posted Symone Khambata, a mother of two, on Instagram. She went on to elaborate the kind of anxiety kids face. The lockdown has been tough for kids as well.
The current times are causing us grave stress and anxiety, and it's doing the exact same thing to our children. Only difference is our kids can't vocalize how they feel. Their stress comes out in temper tantrums, in throwing things and hitting and behaving out of order. But as parents, it's our responsibility to be mindful of their mental health and take action when required.
The quality and magnitude of impact on minors depends on their age, their parenting patterns, whether or not they have been quarantined due to infection, amongst many other factors.
The times are tough and it's taking its toll on the kids. The kids are not eating enough, are unable to concentrate and focus on what they're expected to do. They're finding interpersonal interactions extremely rare. This is leading to some sort of isolation and alienation.
Everybody needs to ensure that we give children the best stimulation and maintain a positive environment at home so that they continue with their optimistic, positive outlook, and the long-term impacts on their well-being would not be negative.
From kids turning violent with siblings to behavioral regression, speech regression, mood swings, aggressive behavior, there are some signs that you need to watch out for to look after the mental health of your kids. Help is available. Visit a qualified mental health care practitioner if your child is acting up. Regardless of that, there is some hygiene that one can follow at home if you have kids. Experts say spending more time with kids, talking to them with empathy, encouraging them to play games at home, allowing them to enjoy themselves and not get very strict, seeking therapy for yourselves as parents as well, are some of the things that you can do to keep your kids mentally healthy. But whatever happens, remember, mental health matters, even for kids. In New Delhi, Chaiti Narula for India Today. All right, let's begin this discussion today. I want to straight go across to a young mother who joins me. She's also a very prominent social media influencer, Symone Khambata. Symone, you just put out a post just recently talking about the mental health in kids, the problems that you were going through with your kids as well. You're a mother of two. Why don't you tell our viewers that how these problems are real and what is it that your kids are facing and what have you identified?
Chaiti, thank you for having me here. I do think addressing what's happening to our children right now is of utmost importance. As adults, we all know what we're going through as far as stress and anxiety goes with the lockdown and the second wave. What's happening to our children is something we have to really try very hard to understand because they're not able to vocalize it.
Yeah.
But as a mother, I can see what's happening to them, right? I can see my son is anxious, he's stressed, he does not understand why he can't go down and play. He doesn't understand why his friends can't come over. That is leading to all kinds of aggressive behavior in him. He's screaming, he's sad, he's angry. It's a variety of emotions that is happening, to him. And of course it affects me. I'm his mother, and I do understand how important it is to pinpoint those signs of mental health in my child while he's young. So that I can rectify whatever is needed to rectify, because there's nothing that you can't kind of, cure and handle if you're mindful about what's really happening and if you can accept it.
Right. If you can also, Symone, tell us some symptoms that you have noticed within your kids or kids of your friends, or when you talk to your friends as well, you must be hearing from other mothers what the kids are facing through in the lockdown. So what are these symptoms that you feel that as mothers one needs to be vigilant about in identifying children? And these are real ones because you all have kids who are facing these.
Absolutely. So I think some of the issues are most definitely, extreme tantrums, no understanding of what the tantrum is, because normally a tantrum is because they're hungry or because they're tired. But these tantrums are coming out of nowhere. They're a lot more frequent. There's a lot of aggressiveness that's coming in, where they're throwing things and they are biting and they're doing all kinds of things. My children are toddlers and they're obviously just learning how to speak, so they can't explain to me what's going on. And they do it through their actions, so that's really what's happening right now. And that seems to be happening to every mother I talk to, even on Instagram,
Right.
They're all facing similar struggles. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see your child who has barely been on earth for a couple of years going through this kind of stress and anxiety. It's definitely not normal,
Absolutely. Varka Chalani, she's a clinical psychologist. Doctor, why don't you tell us a little about how this can be handled amongst kids? So this is a common consensus I'm picking up to mothers like from Symone and many other mothers that I've been speaking to over the past 1 week, saying, sometimes my child is getting very volatile emotionally or getting aggressive, or there is some sort of behavioral regression. These are things that did not exist pre-lockdown. They were out and about, they were going through their normal lives. Probably they were, but in few and far between kids. But this is now becoming more prominent. How does one deal with kids who are showing these symptoms?
Yeah, thank you, Chetty, for having me on. I think a very important kind of a calmer for children today is the presence of a parent. And when I say presence, I mean an active presence in the child's life. What has happened is, because work from home, we are all holed up in our respective rooms with our respective laptops, with our gadgets. We are constantly cued on online. And the child, using Symone's example, a toddler, doesn't have the ability to be cued on the phone or on the laptop or an iPad the way we have. So I think the first thing that we as parents need to do is quality parenting, which means sitting with the child, holding the child, explaining to the child, hugging, cuddling, kissing, reassuring the child that there is at least one person available for him or her. What has also happened in the past, before the pandemic hit, I did see a lot of us outsourcing our parenting. So the children would be sent to classes, the children would be sent to play dates, the children would be sent, and there would be no emotional attachment and interpersonal connect between parent and the family members with the child. So what has happened suddenly, it's 24/7 with the kids. The kids haven't really gotten used to us. We haven't really gotten used to them. And this gap, the emotional gap of reassurance. Look, we are all scared. As adults, we are also facing our own anxieties. And it's palpable. The environment is a kind of, one of doom, gloom. And there are people who've unfortunately lost jobs. So there's financial angst. It's a whole tragic condition in these last couple of months, or actually more than a couple of months in this last year. So a reassuring parent is a very important factor for an anxious child. And what Symone described as tantrums is nothing but what we call agitated anxiety, where it is demonstrated as aggression, but it's actually veiled fear. And what does it only teach us, therefore? That as mature adults, it is our responsibility to be available, not only physically, to be available emotionally.
Be available for your children is the takeaway I'm picking up from Dr. Varka Chalani. Be there for them. Ensure that you're emotionally available as well. Validate their feelings too. And I'm going to come back to you, Varka, on how one can really help children with therapy too. But first, I want to go straight across to Dr. Sameer Parikh. And I was speaking to him just a couple of days ago. And Dr. Parikh was of a very strong opinion that it is the parents of young children who need therapy more than the children themselves. Dr. Parikh, I'm very, very curious to know more about this part as well.
No, see, let's understand this. We are in an absolutely unprepared, unprecedented situation worldwide. You, me, parents, teachers, children, nobody has been trained. We've been, taken aback. So we are all struggling to find our ways. I still believe children probably have dealt with this far better than most other populations. But having said that, what happens to a young child, pre-primary, primary? What they need is stimulation. They need consistent, constant stimulation and a conducive, comfortable environment. Now, let's also accept that we also have our limitations.
Yeah.
Parents have their limitations. Work from home is a challenge. There are various things which have changed suddenly. We are all adapting to it. While we adapt to it, a parent is obviously trying their best. They just need to continue to also accept the fact that in these situations, children will have a little more of tantrums, a little bit more of aggression, because it's more like, that bottled up, not being able to do things, not being able to have the kind of fun that children like. That comes out in various behaviors.
Yeah.
And be very clear, these are transient experiences, especially for young children. If the environment, the milieu of the home is going to absorb this, and we as parents don't let our anxieties, which are natural and a lot there, not to reflect on them and stimulate them, play, board games, music, movement, lots of physical activity, giving them more space for rule breaking, also giving them more space for their tantrums, also, which is fine. And at this time, whatever makes the child more comfortable and happy, prioritize over everything else that any mental health expert
And since
has
you
been
mentioned
saying
that,
for
I
the
have to
past
say
years.
this. The other day, Dr. Sameer Parikh just turned around and told me that, when your kids in a lockdown are being a little difficult, allow them to be. Do not be very strict, to which I was very, very surprised. So, Dr. Parikh, what was that? Do you tell the parents who are listening in, do they have to be less strict with their kids? Can the kids have all the ice creams and the chocolates in the world? Possible. It's going to be so happy for the kids to hear this.
Within the framework of keeping safety and all COVID appropriate behavior, our only goal needs to be that children should be enjoying, children should be having a blast. We need to make children happy. That's the best thing we can do. Forget for a time other academics, forget for a time other aspects, just stimulate. And that's why I'm again saying physical activity, music, creative arts, board games, lots of time. More importantly, lots of space to break a few rules here and there. And like all people like me have been saying for the past several years, the do's, do nots of parenting, forget them. Right now, there's only one do of parenting. Keep the child happy, whatever it takes.
Symone, do you agree? Just keep the child happy is what Dr. Parikh is saying. What have you noticed in your parenting which is different in the lockdown than pre-lockdown, Symone?
You know what? Dr. Parikh, thank you for sharing that. I actually have noticed that when I am taking household objects and creating like an obstacle track for the children and doing things that keep them physically occupied, the tantrums definitely decrease. The happiness and the ability to run around, see and do things is increased. So yes, when I do focus on music and when I do focus on, physical activities with the children, which unfortunately, of course, as a working mom, I can't do through the day, but I definitely do allot that time to them. I do see an absolute change. They are so engrossed, they love all of it, and it definitely does make a difference. So yes, I absolutely agree, and I'm going to try and take back everything I've heard from both of you and implement it more and more every day.
I want to take this across to Dr. Varka Chelani as well. Dr. Varka, are you increasingly seeing more parents speak up and come for therapy as well? Because here the parents also somewhere require therapy. It is not just the kids, but the parents' help-seeking behavior that matters a lot, because somewhere they're increasingly passing on their anxieties, whether it is financial, emotional, or whatever is going on around them, onto their kids. And that's a matter of bigger concern, Dr. Chelani.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we must understand that these are trying circumstances. So an emotionally equipped individual will obviously be a much more competent parent. And I've always looked at a parent in two ways. A parent is also a noun and a parent is also a verb. Okay. When I actively parent, okay, I am actively participating in the process of immersive, active engagement with the child, which I think is extremely important. As Symone just mentioned, when she's able to devote some time to them, being actively engaged with them, they are more reassured. Please understand, at the end of the day, a child is a child, and these last year has unfortunately made us believe that the child has to also grow up and think in similar ways as we think. They don't. They're still cognitively in a certain stage of development. And therefore, it is up to us as parents who are hopefully more sensible, mature, and are able to cope with our own challenges so that we don't use our children as, in a way, our sounding boards. So definitely, I do believe that it is important for parents to heal themselves first, to try and become problem solvers, to manage to cope with all the distress that is unfortunately maybe surrounding them.
That's a very
once they are
important point.
able to be
Yes.
at ease with themselves, it makes parenting much, much, much more easier, and more importantly, actually, it's a beautiful distraction because it takes us away from the real day-to-day problems, because children can be so beautifully loving, they can be extremely endearing, they can really take away our pain that all of us seem to be going through at this time.
Right. Dr. Parikh, just a quick word from you on the atmosphere at homes. Does that matter a lot? Because with the lockdown, you know, certain households are emotionally very highly strung. I mean, so many parents are going through so much financially, emotionally. They're fighting with each other. How does that augur down on children? And what would your advice be to parents at this point of time to maintain some level of sanity within themselves so the kids stop getting disturbed by what is happening between the two parents? And at that young age of, say, Symone's kids or other kids, they probably do not even understand what is happening.
I think, Chaiti, it starts from understanding that we are all humans. We will all have our ups and downs, and we will not get 100% result, and we'll have our own failures as well, as parents as well. Because you might have a very, very bad day at work, and it will reflect on you. What we try to do right now, or what we all need to do, is all of us need to bring as much calmness in the environment where children are that we can, with a single-minded goal that children should be as happy as they can be. Rules and regulations don't matter right now. Children being comfortable, enjoying, and happy is what matters. You may have little time, and I understand that. Whatever time you have, use that time to the maximum. From creative and physical activities, these are also time for storytelling. These are also time to go back to our roots, get them a lot more connected with their grandparents and uncles and aunts, because this is going to build their future. You know, the Panchtantras, the Tenali Ramas, that's a lot of opportunity for all of us to use teaching moments, you know, help children develop values, both social and cognitive.
Yeah.
And all of this is an opportunity as well. But remember, we are humans. You will snap occasionally because you're a human. But at the same time, don't push children for more. Don't expect the best behavior that you would have wanted. And if they are throwing a tantrum, see that also a form of play right now by them, an expression, and let it be. I think that's what you need to do. Let children be. Just let them think that this is an extended vacation, that they are here to have fun.
Okay, I have very little time left on the broadcast, but I just want to take this across to Symone. Symone, when your child was acting up, what did you do differently to ensure that the child feels better? Because you're such a big, vociferous advocate for mental health too, Symone.
So, you know, Chaiti, recently, actually, 14 days ago, to be precise, my nanny tested positive. And what that did is it caused obviously a lot of anxiety to us as parents, right? Because, you know, she had slept with the kids the night before and all of that. Plus, the children are very, very attached to her. Now, we had to isolate her, and the children were looking for her everywhere. And obviously, they didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand why their parents were so stressed. And at that very point, my husband and I actually sat down and we realized that, you know what, right now is the time for us to be mindful. It's not about what we can do for the child right now. It's first about what we need to do for ourselves. Because if we are going to freak out, the kids are going to freak out. And I'm pretty aware of that. And so I think it all starts with self when it comes to parents. And I know that, I mean, it's easier said than done, because when you're caught in that moment, you're human and you kind of lose it sometimes, or you get angry, you get upset. But I think to just be mindful at all times is key. So I think really right now, as both the doctors so rightfully said, it's so important for us as parents to be focusing on ourselves instead of putting all that pressure and focus onto the child, you know.
So the focus has to be inwards towards parents, and that's the big takeaway that is coming out of this discussion. Dr. Varka, on a very, very separate note, a lot of parents have the tendency to just give their kids iPhones and iPads and put the TV on and say, you know what, just sit in front of the TV. Please do not bother me because I'm working from home. So they're just cooped up in one bedroom watching TV all day. What do you have to say about screen time when it comes to these young children at formative years of their existence?
I do believe that we are headed towards a very alienated, isolated, schizoid generation this last year, where everybody has only been attached to their digital screens, has tremendously reduced the ability to form and develop interpersonal connects. And I'm worried about these kids who, when they go out into the world, hopefully when the pandemic ends and real life kind of gets back to normal, will they have the social skills? I'm not so sure. So therefore, participative parenting, engaging. So a little different, in the foreign world as compared to India, is that India relies a lot on house help. In the foreign countries, in the Western world, children are participative in the process of picking up their plates, helping in the kitchen, picking up the table, folding the laundry, etc., etc. So even though they look like chores, I would recommend that every parent gives every child in his or her house something to contribute as a unit. Because right now we are all in it together. And we have to see that if we can get our children to participate in household duties, we'll actually kill two birds with one stone. One, we will teach them life skills, which I think our Indian kids terribly lack. And two, we will be uniting together and have fun in doing something which is otherwise quite mundane and quite regular. So I think I'm a bit worried about a schizoid generation evolving from this pandemic.
And hence, it's very important to talk about the mental health when it comes to kids. I appreciate all of you taking the time out and joining us on this broadcast today. Symone, of course, for talking about your ordeal, about the impediments you face with kids and giving the viewers tips as a mother. Dr. Varka Chalani, about really going out there and showing the way to most parents as to how to manage their kids. And Dr. Sameer Parikh, who also, by the way, runs one of the largest mental health mentorship programs, to come take the time out and speak about mental health in children. On that note, I just want to say one thing. This is Chaiti Narula signing off. But before that, if your child is going through any of these symptoms, do not hesitate. Seek therapy through qualified mental health care practitioners always. There is no harm. Unmute yourself. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.